Welcome to the Muddied Waters of Freedom with your hosts, Matt Wright and Mohammed Shaker.
That's your nickname. You're the voice. All right.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Vanguard. For Mohammed Brojob Shaker, I am Matt Wright, and together we are traversing the muddied waters of freedom. Today we would like to welcome back a very special guest, Mr. Greg Bowen, also known as the voice of the muddied waters of freedom.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Glad to have you back.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thanks for that nickname.
Yeah. Thank you for making the most popular post on my wall possibly ever about straight dudes giving head to each other.
Yep. Oh, man.
Yeah.
I thought it was silly, but I had to share.
I was so not surprised to see that.
Yeah.
Mohammed found an article about straight friends.
I didn't find it. It came across my feed.
Of course he's going to say, hey, Matt, what's up?
I was like sitting on the couch in here and I was like, oh, Mohammed posted on my wall. This must be something he wants to talk about on the show. No. No. Just no. We are not talking about that on the show. But look at us. We are talking about that on the show.
Yep.
Yeah, that was and then my notifications have just been going off constantly. So-and-so liked your comment. So-and-so liked your gift comment. So-and-so liked your comment. Joe had something to say about it. Dan had something to say about it. Everybody had something to say about it.
I don't think Matt can say no to that enough.
No, that is a blanket no.
Yeah.
No.
Like every time someone else comments on it, you should comment with another no.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. Just no. So is this going to happen, Matt? No.
Well, let's not forget to thank...
Yes. Let's thank Low Tide Kava Bar and Mr. Tucker, who is there today.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gotta stir the mud.
You do. You have to make sure that the mud is equally distributed from the top to the bottom for
maximum
pleasure.
For maximum traversing throughout the show.
Exactly. Also, we should thank Alu Ball.
Oh, stickers.
Stickers, yeah. We should thank Alu Ball, but we aren't using your product today because I didn't wash them.
Oh, the stickers are already here.
Yeah.
Like these stickers. Okay.
Yeah.
Bula.
So this was a show we were supposed to do 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
About 2 weeks ago, and then Mohammed went on vacation, and so we ended up not getting together for it.
Yeah.
So we pushed it back, and we finally got a chance to do it today, and we've been talking about all the different things that we're going to talk about. And I've been super excited to do this show, personally. I have been looking forward to this show since we first brought it up.
Oh, God.
And I was like, oh, God, this one's going to be so much fun.
It's telling that you immediately contacted me to be on it.
Oh, okay. That took me about 10 seconds to make that decision.
Yeah.
And the only reason it took 10 seconds was because I was like, who would be best that we could... Oh, that's dumb. Of course I know who would be best for this show.
Yeah.
I am so excited about this show. Should we talk about the last 3 days of our lives, or should we just go into it?
No, we can go into it.
Okay. So today we wanted to talk about the Libertarian Party's leadership and how they are lacking in that last word. How they are failing at the leadership portion of being leadership of the Libertarian Party.
Yep. Yeah.
So with Nick Sarwark and Arvind Vora,
Which I found out is an Indian name, if anybody was wondering, because I was.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I was like, what kind of name is
I knew
this?
Arvin was Indian, so I assumed.
I've never met an Indian with that name before,
I used to
so.
work with a guy named Arvin.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was actually a white dude, but he was married to an Indian girl. which is funny because, like, I guess like he had to take her last name and get an Indian name and everything. It was,
No, that's what?
It was interesting.
I've never heard of that
I've
before.
never heard
I don't know the particulars of it.
Because
I
my
just-
white friend is getting married in a month to an Indian girl. When I was on the California trip I told you about.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's not taking her name.
I-
His name is going to be Shaw. It's
I
still
know
going to be
there's lots of
Tinsley.
traditions all over, and there's even traditions within India as
Yeah.
to how all that works. And I think
That's just weird,
They're
'cause-
very open, just allowing her to
Yeah.
marry a white boy.
Yeah, of
from what
course.
I understand.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people in India that would not be cool with that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's interesting. But yeah, with Sarwark and Vora just constantly doing things over the last 6 months to a year that have been just, in my mind, hurtful to the members of the Libertarian Party.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is the way I see it. Like, if you want to have those opinions, I don't care. I don't. Like, that's fine. If you think that what you're doing is correct, that's fine. But you're also in a position of leadership, so you need to actually look at it as though you are in a position of leadership and you're not running your own gang. You haven't just like said, okay, I'm picking up my friends and I'm going to lead us on this bar crawl tonight. No, you're like actually leading a political party, and I don't think they see it that way. I think they see it more as, oh, me and my buddies are going to go out and we're going to just get hammered and do blow.
Yeah.
And
This is their clique and their club, and they're going to do what they want to do with it and spend their time how they want to spend it. And
right.
so that's the results that we get.
Yes.
That's because the LP is becoming to be super, super partisan over the last few years. Like, I don't know. I feel like maybe over time, as I've gotten more involved with the LP when I got out of the Army, maybe I just started noticing how partisan they are and how everybody that isn't a member of the LP isn't libertarian at all or enough, depending on who you're talking to. Like they just had a post recently on the national page that I just thought was absolutely hilarious. That somebody else also mentioned in the case of Austin Peterson, because I think Nick had made a comment about. Well, I don't want to get this wrong, but I do think he made a comment about the lifetime card-carrying member.
I actually have that written down right here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I was going to bring that one up.
I was going to bring that one up. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
He
yeah.
said, you have Austin Peterson. You have Austin Peterson, who was a libertarian for the election, and then you have Bill Weld, who was a lifetime libertarian. Who is a lifetime libertarian. Both were at the 2016 convention. Which one's a Republican now?
Yeah.
And I was thinking, who was a Republican like 3 weeks before the convention?
Yeah.
Who wasn't?
Yeah.
And exactly what value does this bring to furthering the party by stirring this fight within? What kind of leadership is that, and what is it that you're trying to accomplish as the leader of the Libertarian Party by stirring this pot?
Right.
What are you trying to do? It seems to me like you're just trying to, egg on the infighting that always occurs, and just people within the party are always fighting over something, and there's people within the party that make sure that continues to happen, and they're always keeping the fights going. And if it starts to settle down, they're going to bring one back up, and they're going to create a divide, and they're going to say this person isn't libertarian enough, or this stance that you took isn't libertarian enough, or whatever. And if they don't have it, they'll start creating posts that bring it out. And
Yeah.
because it's easier to fight and then blame the distraction of the fighting on your lack of accomplishments than to actually accomplish something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's so much of what they've been doing recently, in my mind, is they're taking the focus off of, like, Nick recently said in a thread that I was involved in on your wall, I believe, that the 2016 election was great for the Libertarians.
No, it wasn't.
Right. And I was like, in what world is that considered a great election?
It was an
No.
abject failure. An abject failure, and you're holding it up as if it's some sort of victory. And,
Yeah.
and it's exactly why you're never going to win.
Right.
I mean, if you guys ever play any sports involved in anything competitive?
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
So when you've been involved in something where you are competing, you understand that losing, is not necessarily a bad thing, but you can't be happy with it. You can't accept it, because as long as you're okay with losing, you're never going to win.
Yeah.
You're never going to be a winner as long as you're okay with being a loser. And if you don't start to look at why you're losing and take steps to improve and get better and get over those obstacles to where you can start beating the people that are better than you at what you're competing in, then you're just going to stay a loser. And as long as you, want to sit there and say that, it's a moral victory, it's like being the Tampa Bay Devil Rays and being like, oh, the Yankees and the Red Sox, they're always the best, and they suck so bad, and we hate them in everything they do. So, we're going to play with frozen tuna fish instead of a baseball bat. We're going to use these baskets that my grandmother weaved instead of mitts because they're so cool, and we're not going to do things the way they do them. And, then when we lose with the frozen tuna fish and the granny baskets, it's all their fault because they suck, and we're just, we're philosophically superior to you. We're playing on principle. And you know what? As long as you want to do that, you're going to continue to lose. And I have no interest in being a part of this anymore. You don't even know what to say right now. You pictured somebody up at bat with a frozen tuna
That's
fish.
basically what I was doing, and them out in the field with just baskets woven by their grandmother, running around like they're going on a picnic.
True. Like you say, you want to take any political action that is an effective way of being involved in politics, and you get a huge number of libertarians who are like, that's how the Republicans and Democrats do it. We hate the Republicans and Democrats, so we refuse to do that.
Right.
Well, it's also how you get things done.
Right.
And if you don't like how to get things done, then you're playing in the wrong game. This is how it's done.
Yeah, I actually talked about a similar example to that. I don't remember if this was on the show or not, but I read an article. It might have been Fee, and they were talking about how a lot of the troubles in Africa economically are because currently, like if you give them the benefit of the doubt before colonialism, which you really can't, in my opinion, anyways. Like Africa's got a serious problem civilization-wise. It to me looks like most of Africa, especially sub-Saharan Africa, all the way down south, just has not done anything to want to advance except for just very small examples here and there. But the article basically was talking about how because Africans hate colonialism and the scars of the West are still there, they refuse to do things that are good for them because the West does it. So like capitalism, democracy, rights, so on and so forth. Because a lot of these things are prevalent in Western society, African nations have been very slow or not at all adopting different systems that could help bring a lot of these countries up into the fold with the rest of the world, like South America and Asia. And because they're refusing to play with the tools that are available because somebody else uses them, they're still behind in almost every measure except for their raw resources, and that's it.
And it opens them up to be exploited, because then what's happening now is China comes in and there's the people who have control, which are basically these dictators and warlords. China comes in and says, we'll give you money and weapons, and you give us control of the resources, and we'll take all the resources and we'll keep you in power. And they're totally down with that deal. They take that deal all day long.
Yeah.
And China comes in and takes the resources, and the people are continuing to be oppressed. I
mean, I'm sure a good part of the world does business in Africa like that. Me personally, I feel like African nations don't even need to worry about somebody keeping them in power. It's just something I've seen. Africans are so fragmented that they're just too busy fighting each other, and they're still very tribal, like how all like true Arabs in like on the Arabian Peninsula, they're too tribal, and
they always have been. You know,
yeah,
going all the way back through history. You study like the ancient Egyptian history and
yeah.
and all the wars that they recorded and what was going on, and it's always been that way. And it's difficult to change that momentum, especially when you have millennia of momentum behind it. You know, but I know to your point, you know, it's like you don't want to adopt the things that are going to work.
Because like you were saying, you know, you always see somebody from the LP saying, well, that's how those theocrat Republicans do it, or whatever. Yeah. Or that's what the Democrats do.
That would be like in the caveman times. It's like, you know, Gronk over there uses fire, but I don't like Gronk. So
forget about fire.
Forget fire. I'm gonna heat my meat with the sun, and eventually it'll cook off.
I forget his name, and I kind of want to look him up, but maybe you guys can just remind me instead. What's his name? He's a political provocateur type person. Roger
Stone.
Roger Stone. You know who he is?
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people have questioned, you know, Roger Stone and what he does. I watched the documentary Bring Me Roger Stone.
I still haven't watched that.
It's really good.
I want to see it, but I haven't seen it yet.
It's really good, and I had heard about what he does before this documentary, so like I wasn't really surprised at all. But when I watched it, I was like, yep, I would, even me, and I say this like publicly, it's for the record, I would hire Roger Stone to help me win an election. Like, why not?
Hey, that's one of the things the libertarians, they're just so out of their league, and they don't even understand the game that they're playing, that they have these fears of things, and they don't even really know what it looks like when it happens. Like the Republican infiltration, they're always worried about this Republican infiltration, and you know it's always going on, but you guys don't realize it. The problem is you guys are irrelevant, and you're to be kept that way. So they come in and they keep you chasing your tails. It doesn't take a massive amount of people coming in and taking over a convention. That's not what they want to do. They just need to keep you irrelevant and keep you chasing your tails, and that's exactly what they do.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, what? Like, okay, so here in Florida, like that's just the easiest one since we live here. Here in Florida, the way that they've run the elections here, just over the last few years, have been insane. Like watching them, like the Wiley campaign, I thought was a pretty well run campaign. I thought that you guys did a fantastic job. The Wolfsburg campaign, I was on it, so I'm biased. I think that was the best run campaign possibly ever, and we didn't win. But those campaigns were really well run. Even the Overby campaign was really well run. I also kind of helped on that, so I'm also a little biased there. But watching, you know, the Invictus campaign was idiotic. Like, it was fun.
It's embarrassing.
It was embarrassing. But it was a Saturday Night Live sketch coming to life, is the way I always kind of looked at it. The Stanton campaign.
It's embarrassing.
Yep. And this year, with the people that we've got running, it's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing.
It is embarrassing. Because we're getting feedback on something. That's what it is. Yeah, so we've got, I always want to call him George Went, but Joe Went. I would take Norm any day. We've got Joe Went running. We've got Randy Weissman running. And these are the people that are being put up and being pushed. And you've got people like Paul Stanton saying that if you're a libertarian, you need to back these people.
And you're expected to fall in line.
And you're supposed to fall in line. And me, personally, I say, if I don't like the candidate, I'm not going to fall in line. I am not going to vote for these people. I refuse to vote for somebody that I don't like, which is kind of how I found the Libertarian Party, because, you know, I grew up as a conservative, and, you know, you vote Republican. And for my first election was 2000, and, you know, I fell in line. I voted straight down the line Republican, and because that's what good Republicans did. And then in 2004, I think I did the same thing. I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty sure I voted Bush twice. And then in 2008, I was like, I've got this old-looking turtle dude, or this guy who, yeah, I mean, he's this good-looking guy, but I don't like anything that's coming out of his mouth.
Yeah.
And these are my two options. I'm either going to get
except for the anti-war stuff.
I'm either going to get war, or I'm going to get anti-war.
That ends up being wrong.
Right. Or I'm going to get anti-war and have to spend a lot more money.
Yeah.
I don't like either of these options, and so I voted Barr, which, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's who it was.
Yeah, I know. He's not a libertarian, but I could not vote for the other two, so I went, okay, I'm going to vote for this guy. And then 2012, I voted Johnson. 2016, I voted Johnson. So, I didn't really like Johnson, but I didn't like the others, and I just wanted to put a vote in.
Not leaving it blank.
I'm not going to just not vote anybody, so I'll vote third party in order to help boost the third party to make them more relevant. But I'm not going to just say, okay, well, I have to vote for this person because that's what I'm supposed to do. Like when I wrote that article about AI back 2 years ago or whatever that was, or last year, 16, I wrote the article about Invictus, and I said, I won't vote for just any libertarian. You have to prove to me that you are a libertarian I am going to vote for. And that's just how I believe it. Like, if you cannot show me that you are a libertarian, or you are not even a libertarian, if you're not a candidate that I want to support, I'm not going to support you.
Well, yeah, that's well, first of all, my voting record is a downward spiral too.
Voting options are a downward spiral.
Yeah, I voted for Obama in 2008, Johnson 2012, and nobody in 2016. So,
well,
I gave up real fast.
I was a registered libertarian, and I despised Bob Barr, and I could not support Bob Barr, and I did vote for Obama the first time.
Yeah.
Because honestly, he was the only one talking about ending the wars, closing Guantanamo, transparency in government, protecting.
He was exciting too.
I mean, he was saying all the right things. I knew he was full of it, and it wasn't going to be. He wasn't going to live up to it.
And it must have felt good.
He was saying it.
It must have felt good to vote for a win.
It is good to vote for a win. And you know, I also, you know, I know a lot of people don't like it. I was also supportive of actually having a black man that is qualified to be president, running for president, and become president.
Yeah.
It's the combo breaker, you know?
Yeah.
Finally not an old white dude.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think that's progress for us as a country, and it's inspirational for young black kids to realize that they can make it to higher levels in this country. So I think that was a good thing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what you guys were talking about too is they confuse the party with the philosophy, which is something I've had to argue with too many people about for over 2 years now. When they see, you know, Republican, especially when they see that, they're like, that makes no sense. You're a Republican. Well, and I'm like, what does that mean? I can be a Democrat tomorrow. It doesn't change how I think and what values I have.
Right. The letter after your name doesn't actually mean all that much. It's the philosophy that you subscribe to.
Yeah.
Actually makes you whether or not you're a libertarian or a conservative or a liberal or Democrat.
Yeah, and you judge people on what they write and what they say and their platform when it comes to that, not what party they align themselves with, because the Libertarian Party platform is really good, but I mean, you could just say that really a lot of, well, I would say a good chunk of libertarians, small L, like anybody that calls themselves that, would agree with this and would probably write it on their own if they had to. But it doesn't, just because the Libertarian Party has it as their platform doesn't mean you have to be registered as one to be a libertarian. It just doesn't make any sense.
Most of the best libertarians I know aren't registered libertarians. I mean,
and that's kind of where why I'm at the point that I'm at. The identity of it means nothing to me anymore. I used to identify as a libertarian. I knew I was a libertarian. I recognized myself as one, but I've been caught up in the "you're not a libertarian" argument before. I've had it used on me, and I see it too often, and it's used just way too much, and there's too much infighting. They want to hold you to a standard on one issue, and if you're not gung ho on this issue the way that we say you should be, then you're not libertarian enough. For example, I'm pretty happy with the way things are here and now with the education system here locally, because the battle has been fought for school freedom and educational freedom, and I have the right protected to homeschool my child. The state cannot dictate to me the curriculum that I am teaching him, and all I have to do is prove that he is progressing every year. So I feel like I have a pretty good amount of freedom there, and I exercise that freedom, and I homeschool my son, and I control what he's learning, and make sure that he's learning what I want him to learn. So I don't necessarily feel like I have to dismantle the public school system as well. That option is there for people who need it. It is valid for people out there to believe that they support the public school system and they want it. They're free to do that. Mm-hmm. As long as I'm free to make my own decisions. If you guys want to have the public school system and send your kids to public school, and that's good enough for you, okay. Allow me to opt out. Let me have the right to control the education for my children. Put them in a private school, do homeschooling, or whatever else. And that's what we have, and I'm happy with that. But if I'm not championing dismantling public school and making it all private and all that, then I'm not libertarian enough. Well, I'm libertarian enough because I'm not using government school. I am teaching my son on my own, and I'm making sure that he understands these principles that guide me. So he's going to be maintaining these principles when he grows up. So by bitching about the public school system and yelling that it all needs to be dismantled and accomplishing nothing, you are actually not doing anything, and you're wasting your time. I am actually being a libertarian by not using the government and not using anyone's force to force a decision on anyone else.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what being libertarian is to me, is acting without government, not being a cause for the growth of government. This is another problem that I see within. You have people who, they are the cause for the growth of government because they threaten people and make people look to an authority for help and protection, because they are irresponsible with their own children and create the need for neighbors to go, why are these kids running around naked in the streets on their own? They're not my kids. Somebody needs to take responsibility for them. Boom, there, you have Child Protective Services.
Yep.
You just created that government organization by your lack of responsibility. And you're going to tell me you're a libertarian? You are the direct cause for the growth of government. You're not a libertarian. So just because you can offer some philosophical stances through posting on the internet, that makes you a libertarian? How are you living your life? What are you doing to prevent the growth of government and prevent dependence on government? That is what a libertarian is to me. Not your party registration, not what your posts say, not how you present yourself on Facebook or in social media.
It's how you live your life.
And what are you doing to prevent the growth of government and to stop the use of government services? It's that simple.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, I also think there's nothing wrong with advocating for privatizing everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that you can't advocate for privatizing it.
You're just
but
saying
don't tell me I'm not
your
a
actions have
because
to...
I'm not.
Right.
Yeah. I agree.
Which brings us to Arvin.
Yeah, Arvin. Oh, my God.
Because this week he posted something on Liberty Hangout saying that they were a shill site for the GOP because, yeah, sure, they believe in private property, but they believe in public schools. To which Justin, one of the admins at Liberty Hangout, made a comment, and he said, apparently you never saw this article saying all schools should be privatized. And like Arvin is picking these battles with like tiny, like with Liberty Hangout, yeah, I mean, they're a big, I don't know how many followers they have, but they're decently well known inside the Liberty movement. But why is he picking a battle with Liberty Hangout? Like, is that where the best use of your time is being spent?
Yeah.
Like, I feel as though that use of time could be spent
Fighting veterans.
Well, let's bring this back around because now you're going to go to the whole veterans post and everything. So let's bring this back around to the point of the show: the failure of leadership within the Libertarian Party.
Right.
So let's look at Arvin Vohra here for a second, and he's the vice chair of the LP National, the National Committee of the Libertarian Party. And if you look at the bylaws of the Libertarian Party, basically the role of the vice chair is simply whatever is delegated by the chair.
By the chair.
If the chair's not there, he fills in, and everything else that the chair asks him to do as far as his roles that he delegates to the vice chair, that's what he does. So that he has the time to continue putting out these vanity posts of walls of text about completely philosophical stances that are not relevant to the current public conversation, that are only there to incite and create strife. You know, that tells me that you don't have a whole lot to do with your role as the vice chair. So either you guys have finished all your work, or you don't know what kind of work you need to be doing. Because quite frankly, Nick Sarwalk needs to be so overloaded with work that he has to delegate a lot of things to Arvin Vohra to be doing.
Right.
And Arvin Vohra needs to be so busy with that work that's been delegated to him that he doesn't have time to put walls of text up, judging libertarians and creating strife and telling people that they're, oh, I'm sorry, you're stupid, basically, when they don't agree with what you say.
Right.
You should not have this kind of time on your hands in the position that you're in. And if you guys don't know how to fill this time with meaningful activity to further the party and grow the party, then you don't belong in those roles. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And I mean, with the veterans post that Arvin made, that was like 5 iPhone screens long. Like, I was just scrolling.
Well, that was one of them. There's like 3 maybe.
Yeah. But, like, it was just, like, I was scrolling, and, like, then he doubles down on it, and then he doubles down on doubling down, so he, like, quadruples down on his statements. And I'm like, why are you spending time on this?
They're all walls of text.
Yeah, they're
just giant walls of text that are just a long-winded way of saying very short points.
Right.
You know, like, his apology was basically, I'm sorry, you're stupid.
More or less.
And it was a wall of text to say that.
And for his first one, you can summarize it with veterans are murderers. That's it. Like, that was what he said in 2,000 words or so. And it's like, okay, why did you go through all of this to say that? Like, okay, I know you want to explain it, and I know all of that, but one, why are you wasting our time by saying this? Because all it is going to get all of the libertarians fighting about it, because outside of the Libertarian Party, they don't give a crap what you say. Like,
and they won't give a crap as long as you're talking about, as long as you're doing vanity pieces. Because that's what this is. This is not topical. There isn't anything in current events that make this a relevant conversation to be had. He put this out there because this is a statement he wanted to make.
Yeah.
And he wanted to say this and make sure everybody heard it. So that's why it's a vanity piece.
Yeah.
It doesn't play a role in the current conversation as to what's going on, other than the military-industrial complex is kind of this constant, pervasive thing. You know, but it's not like recruitment of teenage boys and kind of leading them into military service with college education is a big topic of conversation right now. And maybe that's what he's trying to do, is make that a topic of conversation.
Yeah, well,
you're doing it in a poor way.
yeah. It's not the best use of his time, and more importantly, in my opinion, which I stole from you, as I do with many of my great points, it's not the best use of his time, but it's definitely not the best use of the time of the people who are in the Libertarian Party, who are actually working to help in their local communities, because now they have to defend what this guy said, and they are now wasting their time where they could be having, supporting people who are running, or if they are running, they could just be looking at the issues, and instead of looking at the issues, they have to go, well, didn't the vice chair of your party say that all veterans are murderers? Okay, well, I don't believe that.
As leadership, they need to be creating opportunities for candidates and libertarian activists to further our cause and make our philosophy and our stances relevant in the public conversation.
Yeah.
And this isn't what they're doing. They're not creating opportunity for us. They're stymieing us.
Yeah.
They're keeping us from being able to do meaningful work that we got involved to do because we're just buried in these selfish, egotistical arguments that have no bearing outside of our own libertarian circle jerk.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about this. You are talking over the heads of so many people in this conversation, and this is not an entry point into libertarianism.
Yeah.
No.
This is advanced libertarian thinking right here, and that's fine. I understand that's where a lot of us are. But if you're going to start following these points, you gotta have this conversation with people on your side. The taxation is theft thing. That's an inside joke amongst libertarians. If you think that is a recruiting tool, you're fooling yourself.
Of course,
you're a problem.
Yeah.
Taxation is theft does not recruit people. It repels people.
Yeah.
That is advanced libertarian thinking. You got to get people to that point. You got to get people to where they're agreeing with you on that. Not think that telling them that is going to bring them in.
No.
Because it doesn't.
I mean, you got to start with, we're the party of freedom. We want you to be able, I want every homosexual married couple to be able to guard their weed plants with their AK-47s. That's a bringing on point. Like, people see that and they're like, yeah, that people who are mildly libertarian will look at that and go, yeah, I agree with that. And then they'll start looking further in.
It brings a lot of issues around in a real easy way.
Right.
So that's one of those things that you can use.
Right.
But that was what my argument was about all of this. The military statement, the religious stuff that they were doing and everything. The LP at every level desperately needs to hire PR people.
Yeah.
They need professionals who know what they're doing to control their social media presence, to control everything that's going out and make sure it is going out in a way that is not going to hurt the brand. Because it is a brand, whether they like it or not, whether they want to accept that. The LP is a brand that needs to be handled just like Coca-Cola, just like Disney, all of it. It needs to have a PR firm so you don't have dumbass volunteers who don't know what they're doing and have wonky philosophical stances putting stuff out in the name of every member of the Libertarian Party.
Yeah.
I mean, with the religious stuff that they did on Easter, like, I don't care that you included that verse. I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care that you included the satanic Bible verse. I don't care. But did you have to lead with it? Like, you were basically just giving them the finger. You were just giving everybody the finger on that one and being like, oh, look how inclusive we are.
It was Easter week, so like I don't get the point of trying to post this, even if you are trying to like be like, here's a libertarian showcase of all these liberty texts, liberty religious texts. Why do it on Easter week? Like, that is such a stupid short sight.
It's one of those things. I know exactly what you were trying to do, but again, because you're letting volunteers who don't know what they're doing control all this, it's coming out completely wrong. Because this is something that you decided to put into these short bursts of memes that is what needed to be in a wall of text. This needed to be a position piece that had context to tie it all together, because the way that you're doing it, people don't understand. Because I understand the goal of that was to show how every major religion and even most of the fringe religions all hold principles that align with libertarianism. So it is a way through religious belief to find commonality and to bridge gaps. I understand exactly what the point was. It needs to be a position piece that has that all wrapped up together and brings that context, because just putting out a quote from the Satanic Bible and then a quote from the Christian Bible and then a quote from from all these different sources, it didn't have context. It didn't make sense to people. People weren't seeing the whole campaign together. Yep. They didn't lead with the Satanic Church quote. That's the funny thing about it. That wasn't the first one they saw, but it was the only one that a lot of people saw.
I thought that was
it's the first one.
It happened on Easter Sunday. It was or during Easter week. I think it was Good Friday that they actually did it.
Yeah,
but it was on Easter week, and it just shows how tone deaf they are. And
well,
they don't know what they're doing.
That's even worse then, because they didn't even lead with it, and
No, I think the Satanic Church one was like the second or third one.
I could have sworn that was the first one.
The way these things come out, you don't always see everything in the feed. Especially, I'm sure you guys are the same way with me. We've got so many friends and so many pages we've liked that there's so much stuff that we miss. And when you miss those kinds of things that are going to bring that context, if you were definitely seeing everyone and you knew what the bigger picture was, it's not going to be as bad. But when you don't see it all, and then on Good Friday you see a quote from the Satanic Church from your political party when you're a Christian, it's because there's no cohesion and there's no plan, and you needed a PR firm that knows what the hell they're doing to plan this out and make this marketing campaign for you.
Well, you remember I don't remember if it was 2015 or 2016 when they put out. It was some sort of PAC that put out this message. Basically, it was a message. It was a picture that the LP National page also shared. I don't remember the name of the PAC, but no more Bushes, no more Clintons, no more Pauls.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I think I do remember that.
Yeah, and it was Rand Paul, and then a lot of people even in the party were like, "What Paul?"
I do remember that because I was like, I'm not a big Rand guy. I'm not a big Paul guy, but I am not going to put the Pauls in the same category as in the Clintons. I just think that's irresponsible philosophically and in your presentation because they're not the same at all.
No, they are not the same philosophically. They aren't even the same personality. Like, the Bushes and the Clintons are, in my mind, sort of inherently evil. And the Pauls, I don't...
He just wanted you to clap, man.
He did. Yeah, I know. Poor Jeb. Poor low-energy Jeb. I will say, for as much as I don't like Trump, I still use every nickname that he has given to other people.
Well, that's just the thing. He's a great celebrity. He's a great figurehead in the media for us to point and laugh at. And
we talked about that last week.
He makes a fool of himself. You know, it's entertaining to all of us. You know, that's why I was telling you before. I stopped taking politics seriously when Trump got elected because obviously I was the only one.
Right.
I mean, we know who this guy is. We knew who this guy was. Come on. Donald Trump has been in the public eye and been within the media my entire life. We all know exactly who this guy is. I don't know if you guys remember. I played the Trump board game back in the 80s. It's Monopoly where you can cheat. I mean, it tells you all you need to know about Trump. And he is a con man and a slumlord. He is a guy who will say anything. He has been on wrestling and Jerry Springer, and now he's in the White House. I mean, come on, people. Seriously, really? This is what we're doing? All right. Camacho Mountain Dew 2020.
Well, I mean,
bring on the Brondo.
I will say this: the country's still going to be fine, even if he was way worse than he is now. Because he only has a few really important decisions to make. I'm not trying to belittle those important decisions, but I remember because a lot of people, a lot of liberals, weren't happy at all with. Damn, I'm sorry. I'm forgetting a lot of things today. Our Secretary of Education, they hate the shit out of her.
Oh, Betsy
DeVos. Yes. They hate the shit out of her, and because she doesn't have all this experience and blah 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 blah. You know, they think it's all gonna fall apart, even though we agree that the federal Department of Education is redundant as fuck because every state has a Department of Education. But ignoring that, she's one of 4,000. She's not running every single thing. People don't understand. And all you have to do is watch the episode, maybe it was one episode of House of Cards. And I know I talked about this before when it came to gerrymandering. Well, not gerrymandering, no. It was term limits. I was talking about why I think term limits would be ineffective. Is a lot of times congressmen and senators, depending on what is being written, have staffers that in the term limits thing they go from one person to the next.
Uh-huh. So that's one of the reasons why term limits are almost pointless.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But ignoring that the staffers are the ones that write a lot of the bills.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to the administration of the education system in the country, Betsy DeVos is not the only person. She's one of 4,000, and there are a lot of people under her that do a lot of, whether we agree with it or not, important things in that system as we have it. So even if Trump is, a joke or whatever, all of his secretaries are going to be running their departments, and so on goes down the list of people working for them, and the hierarchy basically goes all the way down, and he's far away from a lot of the more important things that would happen, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, you're talking about the reality of separation of power and what the role of president is, and that's you are correct, but he seems to think he's king. Right. He doesn't seem to understand the role of the president and what they are allowed to do and how much power they wield.
And I feel that's
what's he gonna?
That's been a common thing as of late, that they don't understand.
It's continuing to grow and grow and grow. That does not absolve him of what he's doing.
No, absolutely.
And he's making a mockery of our government. He's making a mockery of our country. We are losing
We've needed
more
that for a while.
Nationwide. What's that?
We've needed that for a while.
Well, it's the hard way. It's not really the way I wanted to go. I would have much preferred Gary Johnson. Yeah.
No, I agree. No, I mean,
no, absolutely.
I agree.
I just want, real quick, for anybody who's watching us live on the cam guard,
I doubt they can hear that because
I'm not worried about if they can hear it. If we get cut off, we're in the middle of a thunderstorm, so we may lose internet.
The wrath of God is coming down upon us.
Right. You guys know Florida is.
So if we get cut off, the Libertarian Party did not do it.
Damn it! That would be a greater accomplishment than what they're capable of.
Yeah. So don't worry about that.
Not really.
So don't worry about that. It's just the weather is.
It was literally nice and hot on the way here. Now it's a little cool and wet.
It's insane what's going on outside right now. I'm watching it going, please don't cut the internet. Please don't cut the internet. It's Gulfport's internet. I don't know how well this is going to actually work
bad
anyway.
Enough as it is.
Well, hey, one thing I want to side into something we already mentioned, just because I still don't understand it, man. The veteran thing and the taxation is theft thing. I think taxation is theft, and yes, I know it's a joke, but when I talk to people about taxation, especially liberals, and even conservatives, about taxation, especially when they ask us why we say that, or if I start the conversation, I never just start off by saying taxation is theft. I just tell them why we think taxation is bad, and why some libertarians want it to be less, and why some want it to be zero. So there's a good context without this meme, muddying everything. And with this Arvin on the whole veterans thing, I don't know why you did it, and I don't know why I know why some people join the service, and mine was even, I talked about it on my second. Jesus Christ. You're going to make fun of me.
Are you about to reference an appearance on CNN?
Have you been on
CNN, Mo?
Wow.
Oh, my God.
You would think that would have come up before. You've been on CNN? That's amazing.
Oh my God.
Why have you never told us, ever?
I've been on CNN, guys.
You stopped dead in the middle. You said you're going to make fun of me, and at that point, I knew
what he was going to say before that.
Yeah.
And then I knew why he stopped to say he was going to make fun. Because I talked about it on my set. I knew exactly what. On my second appearance on CNN.
I didn't think about it until it was coming. I was like, oh no.
It's like watching wrestling. You see things enough, you'd see it coming from the bottom.
Basically, they asked me why I joined. And then I said, I don't remember the whole thing, but I remember saying that when I was younger, so my mom is the oldest of 11, and she has two younger brothers. They're actually she has a very young sister and then the two brothers. So and the rest are sisters. It's funny. But one of the brothers joined the national police, which I think I'm sure most of the world's countries have national police, not like here.
To some degree, I think.
Yeah,
they do.
yeah. So one of my uncles is like a lieutenant colonel or a colonel, but the other one, who is now retired, is an army officer. And I loved him. He was an awesome guy. He was a nice dude. Took care of my grandma and my mom, and I loved the uniform. And I had a lot of access.
So you did it for fashion reasons?
Yes.
That's why I was considering the Marines.
Yeah, a lot of people join because of the dress blues, I guess.
A lot of people do.
Yeah.
Most of the guys that I know who were Marines, that's why.
I've heard that. But anyways, after that, I came to this country, and I had a really rough time in middle school, like everybody else, obviously. But mine was like 2 years after I came to this country, because I came to this country a year later, 9/11. So I grew up with a lot of really bad stuff.
It was a different America.
Yeah, being aimed at me. And one of the things I had decided over time, as I know I respected the military and all that, is I want to join and change the perception of Muslim Arabs to Westerners. And obviously I also wanted to change that to the perception of Westerners to Muslim Arabs, because I would say when it comes to that, I've never been a hateful person in my life. I think that's one thing I might be able to actually claim. Like I've never hated anybody. But there were legitimate reasons on why I enlisted. Well, I actually think everybody has a legitimate reason. Benefits, which I think are legitimate. They're there. Yes, go for it, of course, in my opinion. But never, and honestly, so never once have I been told, like, or have I thought about me being a murderer because I enlisted, or those kind of repercussions. But even now, as it's been explained to me, how there's a chance I could kill civilians or whatnot, I still would enlist again, just because I think I would do far less damage and far more help than Joe Schmo that is in me. Mm-hmm. So, but anyways, not just me. There have been millions of servicemen over the history of this country that have joined for so many different reasons, including just my family's been doing it. My dad's done it. My and grandpa and great grandpa. So I'm gonna do it. Sort of thing. So like, you can't blame them on that. You can't just say, well, they're all murderers. Well, what's the context? They don't even think in those terms. They think in the terms of, I'm serving my country, and they're thinking in the terms of, there are terrorists out there that we have to go fight. And even if that's like blown out of proportion, if you approach somebody and call them that, how are they going to respond to you? Like, that's not the best way to respond to somebody. Ron Paul has a strong anti-war message, a very strong one, that a lot of, I know a lot of the ex-conservatives I know, or ex-neocons, they're all neocons, and they became libertarian because of Ron Paul. And they were neocons. But Ron Paul brought them on board with the message, and he wasn't saying anything about veterans. He was just talking about why the war is bad and why the military-industrial complex is bad. And so, when it comes to all of that, the lifelong card-carrying libertarian, the calling veterans murderers, the everything, they're not building a good environment to talk about this stuff. They're just going out with a witch hunt.
Here's the funny thing. I actually agree with his philosophical position.
Muhammad just did the podcast version of a mic drop.
He did. He did.
He had it held up, and then he just bam, right there on the
this thing's heavy.
The funny thing is, I agree with what he's saying, because I kind of have that same position. The difference is, I understand what a difficult philosophical position that is to explain to people, and how difficult it is for people to handle it.
But you can explain it without calling them a murderer.
Well, that's the thing. I agree with what you're saying. I agree with your philosophical position. I don't agree that it was necessary to say it. I think you're a jackass the way you said it, and I think you're a jackass in the way that you handled the fallout. And all of this is unnecessary. It's useless. It's created nothing but problems. It has not helped the LP in any way. It has not made that philosophical stance more valid in the realm of public opinion. It has not injected libertarianism into the conversation because of that post. It has not accomplished anything of value or usefulness. It has done nothing but steal time from people. And as long as they behave this way, doing these kinds of things, they are frauds. They are stealing people's time. They are defrauding good activists who got involved with the party with the intention of genuinely participating in meaningful political processes and activism. And they're not getting that, because they have jackasses in leadership that want to make this their own personal philosophical club where they can make sure to tell everybody how much of a stupider, lesser principled person you are because you're not on my level. They come off as very pompous and very condescending and arrogant. And it's to the point where I have changed my voter registration for the first time since I was 18 years old from the Libertarian Party to NPA. I am no longer identifying as a libertarian because I don't want to have to explain myself because of you. I don't need to identify with that. The people who are taking ridiculous and reprehensible stances are pushing people away. Yeah. I'm a lifelong libertarian, and I will always maintain the principles and the beliefs that I have always had, but I do not have to call myself a libertarian to do that. And I will not, as long as jackasses are still in control of it.
And you can tell that you have jackasses in control of it when he makes a post about Nick Sarwark. And then I comment on it saying, I think Mark Rutherford should have been the LP chair. That's who I voted for. Blah blah blah. Oh, and then I also said that I think he's I did say I think he's a jackass and he's condescending and I think he's impetulant and he's kind of a child and I don't like him. And when you and I were running the sound at the LP Florida convention and he was speaking, I wanted to cut his mic like 7 times because he's
one more point. Right. 7 points later.
Right. One last thing. One less. Shut up. I've slept for 3 hours this entire weekend. Shut up. And if he has the time as the chair of the Libertarian Party to come back at me, who I am very popular and very well liked in my own head.
in your small circle, you're very cool. Right.
In this small circle, I am one of the most popular and well liked people in the universe. But I'm not outside of here. Like, I am not well known in the libertarian circles or in the liberty movement. Not yet anyway, but one day. But if he has the time to come back at me and want to argue with me on Facebook about it, you have too much free time on your hands that you are not spending dedicated to trying to move the party forward, and instead you're arguing with me. One vote. You're arguing with me on whether or not I have any right to say what I said. Like, it just makes no sense to me. Like, why are you worried about what I'm saying?
It's ridiculous. The fact that not only are they wasting time putting out these walls of text and these ridiculous vanity statements that don't mean anything to anyone other than them, but then they're reading all the comments and all the battles and participating and commenting and responding. And what are you doing with your time?
Right.
You are wasting everyone's time, and you really need to leave the office because you're not doing anything with it. You are an embarrassment as a chair, an embarrassment as a vice chair. Our leadership it's an embarrassment across the board. And you're wasting my time. I will no longer let you steal my time. I am not going to pretend that you guys matter anymore because you don't.
Exactly.
The most important and well-known libertarian in the country still is irrelevant and doesn't mean a damn thing. And that's their problem. It is because as leadership, they are failing to be leaders. It is all on their shoulders. You wanted the office, you got it. You got the office. Now, what are you going to do with it? What you have done is waste our time.
Exactly.
And going back to the whole, we're running out of time here, but It's another thing that's been really ticking me off is a lot of these kids will talk about how much they like really hate, going back to the whole partisanship thing. They hate Rand Paul, and Thomas Massey and Justin Amash simply because they're Republicans. And I'm like, bro, like they've done more than they've done more than any member of the Libertarian Party has legislative-wise to reduce government, and you can't even tell me I'm wrong on that. And I'm not even trying to belittle the party here. I'm just telling you that they're doing stuff. Like, right. So what if they're Republican, and so what if they're not perfect? Because Rand Paul is obviously not perfect, because he's a traditional conservative that leans libertarian. He's not full-on libertarian as far as we know, anyways. But what he fights for the Fourth Amendment. He fights against CIA spying, against drones, against all this stuff. How does that not count? Like, I don't understand how these people want to focus on Rand Paul all the time. I'm just like, you must be bored.
Right. Because they don't know what to do. Their leadership isn't directing them towards meaningful activism and any meaningful participation. So they're having to fill their time politically by belittling the people they don't like.
Exactly. And it's all been a waste of time for libertarians. Like the libertarian groups that you told me earlier that you've left many of the libertarian groups on Facebook. Hey, I'll go through and I'll be reading the stuff. And some of the groups have become essentially just white nationalist groups at this point. And like, I don't want to have anything to do with that. Like, yeah. I hate watching that happen to the party that, I have, subscribed to for so long. And you've got that going on. Then you've got the infighting going on in the locals. And it's like, oh, well, Rand Paul and Justin Amash can just, we don't like them because of what reasons and, whatever. And it's a waste of time when we need to be focusing, libertarians especially need to be focusing on the local elections. You need to get into the city councils. You need to get onto into the state house and state senates and work your way up. Like, we're not going to win a major election anytime soon, especially if we keep acting the way that we're acting.
Well, libertarians also refuse to take part in their communities. They have such a high-minded, holier-than-thou attitude about the people around them politically that they don't even get involved. And the reality is, you don't have to get elected to office to make your community better. There are a lot of people out there in your local community that are making their community better that have not been elected to anything. And that's what you need to be doing. You need to be out there taking part in your community, especially if you want to run for local office. If you want to run for any office. I am tired of people who haven't done anything meaningful coming out and wanting to run for the highest offices in the land. Yep. You've never even participated in your local community. You've never done anything to better the lives of anyone but yourself. And you think you deserve some sort of elected office? If you want to get elected to an office, I don't care what party you're in, quite frankly. I don't care what your philosophy is and where you stand. If you want to get elected to office, you need to get out in your community and get involved. Volunteer with your church, with Habitat for Humanity, with a soup kitchen, with whatever floats your boat, whoever you want to help and whatever you want to be a part of. Get out there and help and be a part of your community. And let people know who you are and see you out there making your community better. And build your resume on actually making the community better. And then when you run for city council or county commission or whatever, you have a resume to run on. You have local groups who are going to support you and endorse you and give you the monetary value that you need as a candidate, that are going to give you the press that you need. You're going to get your way into that local office and then do a good job in that local office and move up the ranks. This is how it's done. This is one of those things. This is, we're going to play with the tuna fish in the granny baskets because we don't like the way they do it. Well, you got to do it this way. You got to use the baseball bat and the glove or it's not going to work. You got to play it this way. You got to go be involved in your community. Go out to your community, be involved, and offer libertarian solutions to people. The libertarian solutions is solutions without government. So you got to offer a solution. Mm-hmm. If you're out there going, oh, the free market will take care of it, you ain't useful. You ain't useful because if it was taking care of it, people wouldn't be asking for help.
Right.
So be the free market that is creating a solution and make a name for yourself so people know that you are actually offering something of value. That's why Martin Sullivan, great example. Love that man. What he's doing in Frostproof.
That guy is amazing.
They had a lake full of trash, garbage everywhere. They want it cleaned up. People are coming to the city council to have the city clean it up. He's like, why don't we as a community go out there and clean this up? And he's leading the community going out there and picking up the trash and cleaning up the lake. And the lake looks a lot better. The government's not spending any money on it. Everyone in the community is involved and invested in cleaning up this lake. That is a libertarian solution.
Yeah. Yeah. And I talk with Martin pretty frequently right now. And like what he's doing in his community and for the opiate problem that they have down there is absolutely incredible. And he's doing it all basically on his own. Like he is working on bringing kava and kratom down there. And he's buying all of it, and he is distributing it to people so they can learn about it. Like, he's not selling it. He is giving it to people because he wants them to realize that it's not just alcohol and heroin and, painkillers. There's other things out there that you can use. And he is out there working hard every single day on his own, spending his own money, spending his own time. And I respect the absolute crap out of that because he has done so much for that community. He has done so much for that community, and he just continues to go because he just wants to see it be a better, freer, safer place for everybody.
He is a rock star of libertarianism. He is the blueprint of what an elected official as a libertarian should be, and he is ignored by the Libertarian Party, and it shows how much they want to repel any actual work and any actual accomplishments.
Yes.
They want to fill the halls of national with participation trophies. They do not want to accomplish anything because if they wanted to, they would be holding Martin Sullivan up like the Messiah. Martin Sullivan and Jared Grafoni are two city council members that we have here in the state of Florida in two different cities that are bringing practical libertarian solutions to their cities, getting it done, getting people on board, and actually solving the problems without growing government. And when it comes to libertarians, crickets. They don't want to promote the people who are actually doing what we are all ostensibly supposed to be doing. But they want to fight with each other and go back to the circle jerk and pretend my libertarian penis is bigger than yours. I really don't need to be in that fight anymore. I want to work with people like Martin. I want to work with people like Jared.
Absolutely.
And quite frankly, I'd rather work with a Democrat or a Republican that's a good person that wants to accomplish good things than libertarians that want to sit there and act like they're better than everybody else because of some philosophical position they hold that they can't even apply because they're not even involved.
Right. Real quick, I saw the greatest status update by somebody. It was a mutual friend of ours. I don't remember which one it is. So if you're watching us, I apologize for not for quoting this, but it was awesome. It said, "Doctor, are you active sexually?" Me. Well, I am an admin on a Libertarian Facebook page.
Yeah.
Doctor. Oh man, you could have just said no. Why did you have to make it sound so bad? Thought that was fantastic. I was like, yes, that is accurate. Like yeah, I am. But I mean, for the most part, people look at us and they're like, those people aren't going to do anything. They're not able to accomplish anything. All they do is sit there and bitch and moan and whine about them not getting where they need to be, but nobody's really stepping out to do what needs to be done.
It's because what the LP is, it's turning punditry into partisanship. They've created a political party that allows them to bitch about the government full time without actually doing anything about it. The reason politics exists, the reason people get involved in politics is to solve problems. Communities, nations, at all levels, there's problems, there's stuff going on people need to deal with. People don't have the solution themselves. They're looking to an authority to help. That's all it is. And there are people who exploit that for nefarious and selfish ends, absolutely. But the reason it's relevant, the reason it doesn't go anywhere, and the reason it exists is because there are problems out there that people are looking for solutions for. And if you're not participating in offering the solutions, quite frankly, if I hear somebody else go, let the free market figure it out, I just want to cave their teeth in because that's not a solution. People ask you for a solution and you say, let the free market figure it out. Well, that's kind of where we're at, aren't we? If we, that's what we're doing. We're talking about we need a solution. We'll let the free market figure it out. Well, we're trying to figure out a solution. What you're offering. Let the free market do it. Well, you're not offering a solution. So then you don't need to be involved in the conversation. And the American people are saying that loud and clear to the libertarians. Because over the last few election cycles, the polls have been going out to the American people. The numbers are increasing every time. Do you want a third political party in this country? Every election cycle, the numbers are going up. Like the last 3, it's gone from like 55% to like 70s, 80s, depending on the poll. You think these people that want a third party haven't heard of the LP? No, they've looked at the LP and they've looked at our candidates, and while we're getting 80% of people in polls saying they want a third party, we're getting 3% best at the polls for the elections.
And a lot of that's not the greatest lie told to America that a third party can't win.
That's a mandate from the American people that we want a third party and you ain't it.
And you are not that party. Or at least give us a candidate that's worthy of us switching over for.
Yeah.
But you're not doing it. You are absolutely not showing us that you can give us a candidate that I'll back. Like, it's just not happening.
Sorry, I'm not going to the strip club for the campaign meeting for the candidate that wants hookers and blow for his top issues.
What's his name?
That is an actual candidate.
That is an actual
candidate here in the state of Florida that runs for state house every election cycle.
Time.
Every time. Quite frankly, he is the hardest working libertarian in the state of Florida. If we had guys with the philosophical and practical understanding of Martin Sullivan and Jared Graffoni and the work ethic of this guy, we'd be elected everywhere.
Everywhere. 100%. Yeah, because he works hard. He goes door knocking.
He walks his district every time. Yep. He knocks on people's doors. They're like, oh, hi. They call him by first name. They know exactly who he is. They ain't voting for him because he's crazy.
Yeah, because he leads off with hookers and blow.
Hookers and blow. He's a hookers and blow libertarian candidate. I mean, people joke about those libertarian candidates because they're real. They do exist. They are out there, and he's one of them.
Yep.
Nice.
100%.
Yeah.
And he works harder than any other libertarian in this state.
Yep. Accurate. So,
we're a little over time.
I was going to say.
Sorry.
No, I mean, that's
told you not to give me any control over the conversation.
No,
we're going to go down trails that.
That's why I wanted you here.
That's why you're here in the first place.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're way over time at this point, but it was fun. So
we haven't done that in a few episodes.
I know.
So
it's easy to do with 3 people.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. But yeah, it was. One, I knew it was going to be fun. 2, I knew that it was going to piss some people off. And 3, I just wanted to see you. I hadn't seen you in a while. So
Feelings mutual. I'm glad to be here. Glad to see you guys.
So, do you got anything else on?
No.
Greg?
No, I think I've said just about everything that needs to be said right now.
You can do my line for me when it gets to that.
Do you know his line?
Oh, I'm trying to remember it. Because I don't do it then.
It's the last line of Back to the Future.
Yes, yes.
So, by the way, for anybody watching. I got a Back to the Future 2
what
hat.
The hell?
I got the Marty McFly hat from Back to the Future.
Now you got to get the Nikes.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to get the Nikes and the jacket.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't say jacket because it's Florida. You don't need a jacket right now. It is hot as balls. It's like Mexico
he was in
hot.
Southern California, so I mean.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you wanted to read any of the articles we talked about, you can find them on our website at muddiedwatersoffreedom.com. I almost started saying Instagram. You can follow us at facebook.com/muddiedwatersoffreedom, on Instagram at muddiedwatersoffreedom, or on Twitter at muddied_waters. Feel free to comment, share, like, any of that. And if you have any suggestions, message us on our Facebook page or on Twitter, and we will definitely get back to you. We are, according to Facebook, very responsive. And that's mainly because I have my phone on me and I get bored a lot. So you could probably get in a really good back and forth with me if I'm interested in what you said. So, again, thank you all very much for listening, and we will see you on Saturday.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.